Я вітаю всіх присутніх.
Greeting to all of you. So we do have 4 people, those who just, speaking Hebrew. What about to communicate with representatives of Israel? We're just talking about how to set up the economic relationship between Ukraine and Israel. That is why I would like to ask you, to call to you and to say that, let's say in Russian. So Ukraine had signed the free zone of trade for both countries. So it gives us the opportunity to increase the trade developments. What do you think with what we have to start? So let's start with you, please. Mr. Razvozov, the representative from Lavanka Hall Party. Could you please start? Kaholavan. Good afternoon, everybody. So we are very glad to be here. So thank you for this warm greetings. And it's also very encouraging what type of forum we do have here. So how many people among us, so how many had joined us, and those who are very precious about the relationship between Israel and Ukraine and the life of Jewish people in diaspora, and so lots of issues to be discussed. And then talking about the relationship between Ukraine and Israel in case of economical issues. We already signed the questions, and we can see how productive these agreements are. So because it's always G2G, government-to-government agreements, some how it finishes was nothing. But what you can see now, we have the development in the high-tech issue, in the agricultural issue. We can see that Israel companies using the local services of the local programmers and Ukrainian programmers, and this industry is in a great development. So I've seen the advertisement in our mass media, and I saw the specific article about Ukrainian programmers, how effective they are, how solutions they can be provided, and what the advices they can provide to the big Israel companies. So, and it's verbalizing a lot. It is also discussed a lot, and it's a kind of a great exchange between knowledge and experience. And I think we're just moving into the right directions from the point of view of the deputies of Knesset. I think that from the our side, we are available to offer any other platforms, and we understand that the process is going in a correct direction, but we do have the very specific complications in between our relationship, especially migration border. So, but at least we do understand, and Mr. Georgii Logvynskyi helps us a lot, and Boryslav Bereza also helps a lot. So we do have the address, and we're just in a constant process of communication. Mr. Georgii Logvynskyi, the member of the Parliament, Ukraine, Chairperson of the group of the Inter-Parliamentary Relations with the State of Israel, VP of the group of EPP-NC. What do you think, how to improve the economic relationship between Ukraine and Israel?
So that our guests, but as I speak Russian, so I'm interested in the agreement or how to improve relations. What interesting is a free trade zone and relations from the economic point of view. How to improve them? Do you have your vision? I realized straight away that you can speak Hebrew because you have 3 questions in your 1 question as well. Don't shut parliamentary's mouth, please. Let's start the first. Indeed. Oh, last time I've been spending a a lot of time in airplanes at member of Council of Europe. I've been flying to missions together with you, but I've been to Israel many times with Prime Minister, with the head of the Rada, and with President. So the Holy Land is really Holy Land because I had to accompany everybody. One of the visits results was signing agreement of free trade with rights for ratification. So 2026 knobs in Parliament of the Rada, and a very simple procedure in the Knesset. What you have to do is you have to put the agreement on the desk of the speaker, and nobody, if nobody touches it, then it will be ratified. Whereas here you need 126 Parliament members. I believe this will happen, and this process is very complicated. First Parliament votes, and then President will sign. Here we have quite a different story about President signing. Now, come back to economic relations. I think the best form of developing economic relations is not to prevent anybody. As soon as we are trying to let business develop, everything will be great. Let me remind you that we have 10 flights a day between Ukraine and Israel. A flight to Paris twice a day, Frankfurt twice a day, whereas a flight to Israel 10 times a day. And then shares how economic, political, and tourist relations are developing on their own. So I believe that will a very good form. Now I have a question to Sergei Varlanov, his deputy minister. My question is, can you see already changes after the signing of a free trade zone? It's potential in our relations between Ukraine and Israel. We have known indeed after signing agreement on free trade zone. If possible. So there's technical problem. As it happened in Ukraine, there are some people who speak Hebrew. Unfortunately, in the Knesset, they still don't understand Ukrainian. It's something that we will correct. Then let me start again. The agreement on free trade with Israel is designed in such a way that we considered the interests of both parties. When language of figures in 2018, we saw accelerating the rates of mutual trades in 2 to 5 years. We expect growth of 15%. Now trade positions are export of Ukrainian farming to Israel, and we are very proud that we are a security partner that ensures export of those food that feed all the population of Israel. We also export our innovations, including IT, and by doing so we develop Ukrainian software engineering, and also we look further at more innovative, productive niche where Ukrainian software engineers and Ukrainian software engineers could create products and go together to the United States and other markets the way it happens in Israel. We're going to learn it, and finally it's high-tech high import from Israel, including medical, pharmaceutical products, as well as intensifying agrarian potential of Ukraine through import of technologies and equipment in agriculture. Ambassador, I'd like to ask you, my question is, I'm not a member of Inter-Parliamentary Communication of Ukraine and Israel, also a member of Inter-Parliamentary Communication Ukraine and Azerbaijan. When I visited to Baku, they showed us how Israel works together with Azerbaijan. We can see how they manufacture drones. We can see cooperation in a military area, some other areas. Can Ukraine hope that projects like this will be launched between Israel and Ukraine as well? Because what we want is to understand whether or not there will be military manufacturing of military products in Ukraine, of Israeli military products. Some countries might not like it, but some countries do not like it when you launch such production and such manufacture in Azerbaijan. Thank you. Я вас тоже люблю.
The question. We are working very hard together with Ukraine in order to build here what we have built in Israel, an economical basis while we are in a state of conflict with another country. It is not easy to build a country and to build the economy of the country while with one hand you have to hold a shield and you have only the second hand in order to build the country. That's the know-how that we try to share with Ukraine. Wars are not only won by military equipment. Wars are won by the spirit of the people. Wars are won by the fact that the people are able to build a civil society, by the fact that the people are able to adopt back into their, to integrate back into their society the one who came back from the front. And maybe it's even more than drones or things like that that we are doing with Ukraine. We are working together, for example, in the rehabilitation hospital in Kharkiv, in Dnipro, helping the veterans coming back from the front to be rehabilitated. So maybe there should be a change of face. Israel, the startup nation, Israel, the nation where our cows give 4 times more milk than a Ukrainian cow. That's what we can bring you. And by having this, you will have a strong economy, you have a strong people, a strong civil society. That's the way to win a war.
Thank you. У меня вопрос к генеральному...
Thank you. A question to Director General of the Knesset. I'm happy with the cooperation with the Ukrainian Parliament. Is there a cooperation like this, or do you think that something could be changed in this area with a view to improving some areas of cooperation between Israel and Ukraine? Да, я приветствую всех, приветствую всех. My question is much simpler. And there's nobody who could compete with Jewish community number 1 in Israel. Thank you for these words. No, these are facts. There are some guys there. What we could change. Perhaps we could make some rotation. He's got energy for 2 states, for 2 countries. We are not going to replace Kharkiv. As you know, recently, the state of Israel had elections. Now we're not going into details. Last week we elected our new parliament, and the first Israeli delegation of Israel is here already. I will disclose one other secret, namely that our director, after the 30th of April, it will not be important. I'm not able to take decision, but everything will be good. Thank you for this invitation. It's very important that we are here. Also, the head of the Knesset. We're both born in the Ukraine. The parliamentary democracy is very important for us. And cooperation is very important between Israel and Ukraine. Here we have His Excellency Ambassador. The Knesset also wants to be independent in their relations with Ukraine, and we are doing this. We are doing our best to achieve our goal, and relations with Ukraine is the brilliant example of our cooperation. As I said, gradually they said you'll be fine, and hopefully we'll be moving forward. My next question that I have next question, which is actually initiated by Mr. Razvozov. The question about migration. The question when the citizens of Ukraine are sent off without reasons from Ben Gurion Airport back to Ukraine. It's a question to you, Your Excellency Ambassador. I would like to know why this happens. It also causes respective response to Ukraine. There's something that could bring some painful results, both Israel and Ukraine. Yes, it's very painful subject, both Ukraine and Israel. I think that everybody is dealing with this, including Ambassador, including the director of the Knesset and myself. Indeed, there is a problem. You can't hide it. And depending from what side you look at this problem, well, there might be a violation of an Israeli law, and on the other hand, there are innocent tourists who come to Israel to spend their vacation and they're turned away. I can say that this portion is very small, but in the end, each individual who bought tickets, bought their holiday, and then they're turned off is something which unacceptable. I've been dealing with this lately, and last time when I dealt with, I made a phone call to Georgii, my colleague who helped. And they let them in, and he personally guaranteed, like I myself, I guarantee many Israeli citizens here. And there is an issue of additional conversation, and now that Israeli law is violated, then additional questioning is made. After additional questioning, let in to Israel additional conversation. It's very hard then, because you have to spend several hours at the airport, and immigration service hasn't already taken up personnel, and it's also a problem about logistic, local problem. Next week I I have like a meeting with the airport. Well, once again, I've been working on this. This issue has been brought here in Ukraine. The meeting with President and Prime Minister. Everybody is aware. Almarin services are working. Minister of Foreign Affairs is working. Ambassadors are working. And Minister of Parliament working. There's been clear solutions so far, but I think that here it's very important to let tourists know whom Israel accepts as Israel, either those who come as tourists or those who come with other jobs. Because now with visa-free, there's a visa travel regime of Israel, especially for tourists, not for everybody else. There are many people who do business, but now we're working on this. It's hard to expect for results soon, but I think that we'll succeed. When law is violated, of course, it should be punished, but I believe that you are aware that, for example, Grigory Logvynskyi was almost deported from Israel after landing. Perhaps they thought that he wanted to go to work to a construction site or to work as a dentist in Israel.
First of all, if I can, apology again about what happened to Mr. Logvynskyi. So we'll do it here in public. My dear friend, it was not on purpose. They didn't know who you are. And by saying that, I'm pointing the problem. By saying that, I'm pointing at the problem. We agreed with our Ukrainian friends that there is a problem. We agreed with our Ukrainian friends that we're discussing in open dialogue and looking for solutions. And I think that it is exactly what shows good relations between countries. That if you have real problems, you can sit together and to put the problems on the table. If it's on the level of President and Prime Minister, if it's on the level that my level dealing here with the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and Mr. Logvynskyi is very involved also in this issue. If it is on the level of the Knesset, also talking to the people in Israel because of the problematics that we see. We came after months of discussions to something that we hope will be implemented, that we will find a way out. There is a short-term solution, there is a long-term solution. There are ways, and that's the point among friends and among family. Yes, we have discussions, yes, we have points that we do not agree, disagreements, but the point is to be able to solve them in a normal way and to find as quick as possible a solution. Because, again, look, yes, it is a problem, and yes, we have a problem. But 160,000 Ukrainian tourists entered the state of Israel. 300,000 Israeli tourists entered Ukraine. So the numbers are high. Yes, the one who were refused, it hurts for every one of them if it was a I would say, without a reason. And that's the reason that we have to find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Господин Логвинский, как человек, которого pытались депортировать.
Mr. Logvynskyi is somebody who was tried to deport. Why deport? It's not the most horrible to be deported. When I said at the border, I asked them, could you sort me out as quickly as possible? Because I have a meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister in an hour and a half. And then they asked me, aren't you going to meet Messiah today in Israel? not being aware that I speak Hebrew. They said between themselves, what a cuckoo is this guy? What cuckoos are flying here? Just you can imagine. Surprised when I called to Mr. Sakharovich, he said, you must be at Netanyahu's office. Where are you? And I said, they hold me here up, suspicion that I am going to make some bad construction site. And then Mr. Sakharovich told them what he really thought about them. But indeed, it's not a problem. It's not a problem of figures, Ambassador. It's not a problem how many entered, how many got back. My acquaintance doctor, some point in the past said, for 80% there's chance for sex, but 20%, 100% of lack of sex. And those who are not Latin, it's the right of the state, take this decision. But the only thing we ask is the respect to Ukrainian passport, and this main thing. And I'm quite sure that we're not going to have other statistics because Ukraine passed, but various races in the 24th places in the world in its rating. We have visa, travel, we make sure that they respect Ukrainian passport in Switzerland and Germany and other countries. I think that we have to go this way with the help of our ambassador, with our friends. Ms. Sakharovich is from Chermsy, of course, has been living in Kyiv over, I expect he is going to ask for refugee status fast, and will give it to him in a short procedure. Just I want to add some words for this. You've got 90 seconds. Well, actual main problem of relations between Ukraine and Israel is just tell me what relations are we going to have with Israel, with President Zelensky, Prime Minister Groisman, and will they be different from relations during President Poroshenko and Prime Minister Yatsenyuk? Is there going to be difference for people, including our colleagues? And you know that as we're speaking, the parliamentary conference is now whole members parliaments from 15 countries of the world came here. These are MPs from Lithuania, Latvia, Moldova. You all came here to support Ukraine. It shows how Ukraine is important in the world. The first official visit of the Knesset after election was paid to Ukraine. Is correct. Relations must appreciate that there will no problems. What I'm trying to say, so it says that it is a luck that a Jewish president has been elected in Ukraine, which shows there's no anti-Semitism in Ukraine because they are ready to elect him. Some says that we, like Mr. Shiransky says, you have to think what might happen. But you know what Jewish luck is? Jewish luck is interval between two Jewish unlocks. So this is the issue which is in our hands, and how we build relations. There is something which will underpin the policy of both countries. Thank you very much.
So I would like also to find out, to ask, maybe, do you have any other questions to our respectful guests? So, could you raise up your hands if yes, but if not, then let me ask the question. So, I do see that everybody are so excited of you because nobody wants to ask you. So, I have a question. So, please, I would like to ask you, Mr. Deputy Minister. So, as we know, unfortunately, Ukraine is very energetically dependent. So, and Israel had this opportunity to build the independency in the fields of electricity, a supportive industry. So, how could it be? So, is it in a private sector, or you cannot see this in the inter-state relationship? Thank you so much for your question. From the point of view of our vision and how we can see our relationship on this very level, so we are available to develop it. But talking about the historical issues, I can say that we have the perfect cooperation on a private level. If there is business core in it, then it's okay. So it works, and then this issue is actively works. So Israel is not such a big exporter, as far as I know, of the energy resources as it is. So from the point of view of the technologies, yes, sure, we're just available to cooperate, to work. We're available to deal with the investments, climates, so specific supportive things. And I would like to say maybe the Mr. Ambassador would join some ideas, would say some ideas. So I would like to say that we just systems and startups from Israel is very important. So we already said about so.
That we are not such a big exporter of energy, but right now we will be a very big exporter of gas, but you don't need it. And it would not come to Ukraine, but it's more for the Mediterranean. But wait, let me speak with that. But it's for the Mediterranean region. But Ukrainian companies, because of your knowledge in working with gas and with transporting gas and so on, Ukrainian companies are involved in our big gas projects in Israel. So that's one point where we are, collaborating in energy. The second point, and Slava, you mentioned it very, very well. It's the point of startups, and to find the startups which are fit to your needs. I don't know. It's not only some words to say startup nations. I really don't remember the number of startups that we have in Israel, but it's very, very big. And what's amazing is that it is in every field that you can think about, and the field of big data is the field where we are specializing. And here again, for energy, the big data is something that could be helpful. So the thing that I have to say, and I want to come back to the free trade agreement. The free trade agreement, first of all, I will ask my friends from the Knesset who are here. We have 3 members of the Knesset. Guys, you have to ratify this agreement as soon as possible. Now we have a Knesset. We only signed it. It has to be ratified. So push it, and do as soon as possible, because we want it to have it enter in force. So, but the agreement is only a base. It's only a base for our businesses to know one the other and to understand what potential is also in Israel, not only in the fields that are in the agreement, but then to open the agreement to other fields. So it's very important to have the agreement implemented as soon as possible, and to find the common fields, and to have your delegations coming to Israel. As I talked to your colleagues, we are open to ideas to organize them the trips to understand and to see what are their needs. We will have also an innovation day in Kyiv, where we'll have a lot, I don't remember the number, but a big number of Israeli startups coming to Kyiv and presenting themselves. So we're on a good track.
Thank you for your speech. Когда компания Intel
When company Intel entering the Israeli market, so well, nobody thought that this cooperation would become so influential and so deep. So well, Intel is investing into Israel 10,000 billions of dollars. Well, the Intel company entering Israel market, they were provided with a specific support. So they got some supports for payments for different services, etc. So Israel accepted to get less from them in the beginning, just to provide the potentially good profit in future and to provide the working places. So well, what I would like to say that we have to follow, to catch the investors, but not to wait until investors would start the activities, the ideas. What is the motivations for comfort conditions for your Israel companies to enter Israel markets? As I mentioned before, G2G, government-to-government agreements, it's very good, but we do have lots of work to talk, but we're just voting a lot, but at least it's about all private business. So we're talking about private business, it doesn't matter, small or medium businesses, but the investment into the state of Israel, it's a very specific thing. So well, so first of all, we have to find the privileges and then the help to observe the protection for the business. So well, if the Israel companies would like to invest into Ukraine, they would need to have the guarantees on the governmental state level, and it should be the so-called specific legal foundation to provide the safety of the businesses here, which is very important. And for now, we already discussed this issue a few times, and for us it's very important to have these changes in this very country. If we're talking about the investments, if you're searching for the investments, because this is the private business, there is not enough to have the agreements. The agreement says, okay, so well, it's great, it supports. So we see the platforms, political platforms, supports, safety supports, but it's very important for business to be safe, to have these guarantees, legal processes in the fields of the legislative support. So, well, guarantees, that's very important for our business. And so, because to invest money, and it's very important, especially when there is a threat to lose the money. So, well, I would like to. So, my name's Jan Prevorotsky. So, I would like to ask. It's about.
Time has come to make Kyiv and Jerusalem twin cities, and I would like to ask you, what do you make of it? What do you think of this idea?
Jerusalem, there is only one. So we can think about other cities if you want, but Jerusalem doesn't have. Sorry, Yoel.
Пане посол, я хочу вам сказати.
Your Excellency, Ambassador, I'd like to say that Jerusalem is indeed unique and is one, but Kyiv is also unique in this world. And please believe we won't fight any other cities like this in the world. We are coming to an end of our conversation, and if you have a minute to say what you want, Mr. Logvynskyi, I believe that Israel and Ukraine have so much in common that we are simply bound to be together, make friendship and respect each other. Israel is a state that learned things that we didn't learn, and now we're paying high price for this. Israel was created by several people who emigrated from Ukraine, from Kharkiv, to create the state of Israel. It was our investment into Israel. We gave you the best people, and that was the best that could have been. And now, dear friends, we are waiting for our returns of this investment. Mr. Chairman, first of all, I'd like to thank the State of Israel for support for such relations between our nations that are grounded on a joint past, a common past, and I believe that we are facing a great common future. This is the nation Ukraine to follow in everything, starting from creating or renewal of Ukrainian statehood, as Mr. Lutsenko said. Civilization choose when you have a shield in one hand and with other hand you develop economy. You have to fill the central budget and respectively develop our country. Thank you. Joel?
We have to do our utmost to, at the end, to have a love story between Israel and Ukraine, and not only something that is based on common interests. We have our past, we have to deal with the past, we have to talk about the past, but we have to build the future together. I think that we have a lot to do, a lot is on our plate, and we have to build it together.
I wanted to use my minute to thank the delegation of the Knesset and the head of the Knesset for their coming here this week. Has been very hard with various ceremonies, and I'd like to congratulate you. I'd like to thank those who organized this forum. I'd like to thank Mr. Logvynskyi, and we're going to do our best. And as like any couple might have good times and bad times, but we will sustain this. We'll go through all trials, and we do our best to remain in good relations. Well, I want to thank all the panelists and to wish the first Kyiv Jewish Forum takes place the same date next year. Thank you very much.
The brilliant moderator, come Ukrainian parliamentarian, Boryslav Bereza. He deserves a big hand.